The great time management specialist Alex McKenzie once said that action without thinking is the cause of every failure. Action without thinking is the cause of every failure, which means, obviously, that action preceded by excellent thinking is the cause of every great success. In this session, we're going to paraphrase that. We say action without planning is the cause of every failure, because planning is really the detailed form of thinking on paper. Today we're going to talk about personal sales planning, and we're going to show you some techniques and methods that you can use to dramatically increase the speed at which you achieve your sales goals. Here's the first and most important point of all, is that you are in business for yourself. From the minute that you begin selling, no matter how many other companies you work for or who signs your paycheck, you're actually in your own personal sales business. You are judged or rated or rewarded on the basis of the success of your business. You know, they did a study with Dun & Bradstreet over the years to find out why companies succeed and why companies fail. And you know what their conclusion was? Is that companies succeed because of high sales. Companies succeed or fail because of low sales. Your personal business is the same. You succeed because of high sales and you have problems because of low sales. So let's start off with the most important breakthrough that's taken place in the last couple of decades is seeing yourself as self-employed, seeing yourself as the president of your own personal professional sales corporation. Seeing yourself as completely in charge of your own life. You see, the biggest mistake you can ever make is this. The biggest mistake you can ever make is to ever think that you work for anyone else but yourself. We're brought up in our society, if we're not careful, to think of ourselves as employees. We think of ourselves as people who go somewhere and they give us a place to stay and they give us a paycheck and they give us medical benefits and pension and vacations and so on. If we're not very careful, we start to see ourselves as passive agents, kind of the recipients of the decisions and actions of others. But the turning point that's taking place now is that really excellent people in every field are beginning to see themselves as self-employed. Do you know the top 3% of people by survey, the top 3% see themselves as self-employed. No matter who signs their paycheck, they see themselves as presidents of their own lives. In selling, as the head of your own personal sales corporation, you are the president of your own life. You're the president of your own career. And why? It's because you're always free to choose. You are where you are and what you are because you've decided to be there. You're where you are and what you are because you've decided to be there. In fact, over the long term, you even determine your own income. You decide how much you're going to make. People will argue with that and they say, well, no, I don't decide that. The market decides it, my company decides it, the competition decides it, and so on. No, 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 no. You get paid for the value of your contribution. Your contribution is based on your skills, your knowledge, your willingness to work hard. Your contribution is based on your education, your background, the extra efforts you put in, the going the extra mile. In the final analysis, your contribution is largely determined by yourself. Over the long term, you determine your own income. If you're not happy with your income today, you know what you do? You look around you and you find someone else who's earning more than you are, and you find out what they're doing, and you do more of the same things. In selling, there are always people who are making 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much as other people selling the same product in the same market to the same people under the same conditions. The question is, do you want to be one of the people at the top or one of the people at the bottom? You are your own boss. You are the boss. In fact, we say that if you want an increase in pay, go to the nearest mirror and negotiate with your boss, because that's the person who decides how much you earn. The key question is always this, and it's never been changed. The key question is, how badly do you want it? The only limitation on what you can accomplish is your desires for what you can accomplish. If you want it badly enough, you can have it. And do you know how you can tell if you want it badly enough? It's real simple in any area of life. Just look at what you do. If you want to be really successful in your career, then you will put aside all other things, maybe except your family, and you'll focus single-mindedly on developing the skills, ability, knowledge, talent that you need to be absolutely excellent in your career. And if you're not doing that, it means that you probably don't really want to. Okay, what is the aim in strategy? Now, this is very important. The aim in strategy especially for corporations, and strategy is considered one of the great breakthrough concepts in the 20th century. The aim in strategy is to increase ROE. It's to increase return on equity. The whole purpose of strategy in a corporation, and I've done strategic planning exercises for large companies, is to take their resources and their people and their opportunities and their money and their capital and furniture and fixtures and so on, and reorganize them so that the company is getting a higher return on equity, a higher return on capital invested than they would prior to the strategy. The whole purpose of strategy is to bring about a situation or a condition where the company is actually doing better and realizing greater rewards than they would have without the strategy. What is your aim in strategy? It's very much the same. Just like a company's aim in strategy is to increase return on equity, yours is to increase return on energy. You see, the only thing that you have to sell in the whole world is your physical, your emotional, and your intellectual energies, your mental energies. So the question you have to ask is, how much are you selling them for? If one person earns $25,000 a year, and another person earns $50,000 a year, and another person earns $100,000 a year, and they're all selling the same product out of the same office to the same people at the same prices, which one of these do you want to be? Your job is to organize your life and your time so that you are getting the maximum return on energy invested. My friend Ken Blanchard calls it return on life, getting the maximum return on your life. If you're going to work 8 or 10 hours a day, if you're going to work for 30 or 40 or 45 years, you might as well get paid at the very, very top of your field. So, what do we know about successful individuals? Successful individuals have certain differences from unsuccessful individuals, and one of the things that they have is they have good strategic plans. Now, it's absolutely amazing. We used to say that goal setting was the key to success, but today it's not just goal setting. Today it's personal strategic planning. With a good strategic plan, you have your whole life organized. So let's start off and say, what are the elements of a good strategic plan? The elements of a good strategic plan come back to this point. What do you want? What do you really want? What do you really, really want in life? Remember, your sales work, no matter how good you are at it or poor, no matter how much you love it or how much you put into it, your sales work is a vehicle to get you from where you are to where you want to go. Your sales work is a tool. Your sales work is a means to an end. It's not the end itself. So, the more clear you are about your goals, what you want to accomplish with your activities, with your investment of physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, the more clear you are, the more motivated you'll be, the more focused you'll be, the more momentum you'll have, the more you'll accomplish. So let's look at this. What are your goals in selling, in personal strategic planning, in personal sales planning? Well, let me give you a suggestion of what your goals should be. Number one, top of the list, is financial independence. Financial independence. You know, there's a saying that those who do not plan for the future cannot have one. Financial independence means that you want to be able to accumulate enough money so that you don't worry about money. You have to decide what that amount is. You have to decide how much you want to be worth. How much you want to be worth when you quit working. I have some friends, by the way, who are retiring now at the age of 55 and 52 and 58. And you say, well, how could that be that they could retire? It's very easy, because about 25 years ago they made a plan that they were going to bring their net worth and their cash flow up to this point, and at that point they wouldn't ever have to work again. Well, whatever your goal is, and let's say that you want to accumulate a net worth of $1 million, and in the United States today, about 1% or more of the population have a net worth of $1 million. Let's say you want to have a net worth of $1 million and you want to have a cash flow per year of $75,000 to $100,000 so you can retire. So here's the question, why don't you have it already? If you want to be a millionaire, why aren't you? If you want to be financially independent, why aren't you today? Now, there's two reasons why you don't have financial independence. One is you don't make enough, and the other is that you spend it all. And sometimes the two come together. You don't make enough and you spend it all. Sometimes you make plenty of money, but you spend it all as well. So the key to financial independence has always been the same. First of all, work on yourself so you become very good at what you do. And second of all, get your income up to the point where you can enjoy a very nice living, and then save 10, 20, 30% of it every single month and put it away so that you can eventually become financially independent. I have news for you. You're not going to win the lottery. If you're going to become financially independent, it's going to be because of what you do every day, every week, every month. Now here's your second goal. Your second goal should be to be in the top 10% in your field. Of course, if you get into the top 10%, this is what's going to enable you to achieve financial independence. Top 10 to 20% in your field earned substantially more than the people at the bottom. So your job is to get into the top 10%, and that must be part of your strategic planning as well. Now here's the third goal that you should have, and that's to increase your sales every year. Increase your sales every year by 25%. See, you know, we have a basic rule that in selling is if you're not committed to getting better, you're actually unconsciously committed to getting worse. People don't stay the same. So we find that people who actually increase their income make plans to increase their income. They set a target goal to increase their sales of their own personal corporation by 25 to 30% a year. Sometimes you'll exceed that. Sometimes you'll do more, sometimes you'll do less. But the critical thing is this, is what do you have to do to get your income up by 25% a year? And some people say, well, it's too much, I can't possibly do it. Let me give you a very simple point. Is that if you increase your performance, productivity, and output by listening to tapes, watching this program and taking notes, by reading books, and practicing by 1/2% per week, which is pretty small, it'll translate into 1 to 2% a month. It'll translate into 26% per annum. You can become 26% per annum more productive just by working on yourself for an hour, hour and a half each day. Just by investing a little bit of time in yourself and getting a little bit better. Just in working a little bit more, starting a little bit earlier, working a little harder, staying a little later, you can be 0.5% more productive every single week, 2% per month, 26% per annum, etc., etc., etc. So it's not an impossible thing to do. Once you decide to do it, write it down, make a plan, and get started on your plan. Now, here's the fourth point. The whole process of planning, which requires mental effort, determination, concentration, resolve, and focus, planning acts as an accelerator. Now, I like the word accelerator and acceleration. I think it's really valuable. Accelerator is something that makes you go faster. And when you plan, you actually go faster in the direction of your goals than you would if you didn't plan. Planning also builds up your desire, because the more you plan it, the more you have a tendency to want it. It also builds up your belief, because the more you plan it, the more you see that it's possible for you. It also builds up your motivation, because as you see yourself moving and following your plan step at a time, remember, each step that you take towards your goal, and you can see the progress that you're making, that you're getting just a little bit better, motivates you and stimulates you. It actually impels you internally. So instead of somebody else on the outside having to motivate you, the very act that you're moving toward fulfilling your plan accelerates you, motivates you, builds your desire and conviction. And that's why they say nothing succeeds like success. Because as you succeed, you become more positive. As you become more positive, you succeed even more, and so on. Now here's the fifth thing that planning does, strategic planning does, is it increases the slope on your success curve. Now this is one of the most important things I've learned in years. Now a slope, if you know anything about statistics or mathematics, on a curve or on a success chart is simply this. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine that this is a box of your life and work. And this is the amount of money that you make at the top of the box. This is 0 down here, and this is time over here. So let's say we have a series of years. Now let's say that you just go to work each day, you do what's expected of you, a little bit more, a little bit less, nothing else. Over time, if you're fortunate, your income will increase as the result of experience. It'll go from wherever it is, it'll go up. Your income over the course of your lifetime has probably doubled and tripled from the first minimum wage job that you took. Your job, however, with additional knowledge, skill, planning, determination, is to increase the slope on your curve. So with knowledge plus skill plus planning to increase the knowledge and skill, you make this much more money than you would have made if you had just simply increased your experience. Your job is to increase the slope. Everything that you do that enables you to work better, that enables you to learn more, to get smarter, to be more effective, to waste less time, to focus on higher value tasks, to get the highest return on your energy, increases the slope on your curve. It shortens the amount of time, in fact, it shortens the amount of years that it takes you to get to the same income. We see people all the time who will take 10 years to get to an income that someone else arrived at in 5 years. You know what this means? It means that that person, by not making the extra efforts, has added 5 years to their life, or has cost them 5 years. That is absolutely unacceptable. So therefore, by planning, you can increase the slope on your curve. You can get to where you want to go faster, get your income up faster. You can achieve your income goals and your savings goals faster. You can achieve financial independence. You can get to the top 10% of your field. You can increase your sales by 25%. You can accelerate yourself in every area of your life. Okay, here's the basic planning model. We call this the strategic planning model, but we'll call it a sales planning model as well. And it's a very simple model that you can use in everything that you do. It's called the GOSPA model. G-O-S-P-A, GOSPA. And it stands for 5 words. The first is the word goals. Now, goals are long-term targets. They can be 1, 2, 3 years. They can be annual income goals. They can be financial accumulation goals. You can look upon goals as the top of the ladder. Imagine that there's a ladder up to your, and up here is you have your goals. Goals are where you want to end up at the end of all your efforts. Now, the second part of the model is objectives. Now, your objectives are the things that you have to do in order to achieve your goals. Remember, the more you break it down and think, the more effective you will be. These are your short-term steps. You could even call them rungs on the ladder. These are the things that you have to do. Now, some objectives can be done sequentially. Like steps on a ladder, you have to do one at a time. Others are sequential. You can work on 2 at the same time. One of your goals may be to get better in an area of selling. Another of your objectives may be to get physically fit at the same time. Another objective may be to buy and build your dream house. These can all be done parallel. But objectives are steps that are necessary to get towards your goal. If your goal is financial independence, you're going to have to do several things simultaneously. You're going to have to get better working in different areas of work. You're going to have to invest more carefully. You're going to have to build longer-term relationships with better customers and so on. The third is strategies. Now, strategies are the how. It's the various ways, and there's always a variety of ways to achieve an objective. Strategies are how you're going to come about accomplishing this particular objective. How are you going to accomplish it? And sometimes you'll find that you have a lot of frustration. The frustration is caused because you're working on an objective, but your strategy is incorrect. Whenever you run up against a wall, have the courage to review your strategy. What am I trying to do? How am I trying to do it? Could there be a better way? Now, the fourth letter in the GOSPA formula is plans. Now, plans are lists of activities. You know, one of the most powerful things that you can do to dramatically increase your motivation is sit down and write a list of 20 things that you can do right now to start moving you toward the fulfillment of a strategy or the achievement of an objective. A plan, a list of all of the activities, is a powerful motivator because it gives you a sense of what to do and when to do it. And finally, A stands for activities, and these are things that you do on a daily basis. These are specific responsibilities. They're measurable and they're time-bounded. They're also organized by priority. So these are the keys, the GOSPA model. You need goals, long-term. You need objectives, the steps on the staircase. You need strategies, which is how you're going to achieve those objectives. You need plans to fulfill the strategies and realize the strategies. And you need activities on a day-to-day basis. And remember this, there's something called the momentum principle of success. And the momentum principle says that the more you work towards your goals, the more momentum you develop. And as long as you keep on working on those goals, the greater momentum you have. And you keep up the momentum, because if you ever lose the momentum, sometimes it's very hard to get started up again, like getting back to work after a vacation. Well, now let's look at the starting point. And your starting point has to be your income and sales goals. Your income and sales goals act as the organizing principle for all of your sales planning activities. So number one, what is your annual income goal? Here's what we have found. Whoops, annual income goal. Here's what we have found. Is that people who have very, very clear annual income goals are much more likely to accomplish them and much more motivated than people who don't know how much they're going to earn in the course of a year and just hope and pray at every paycheck. So how much do you want to make this year? Whatever you made last year, set a goal to increase it by 25%. If you made $40,000, set a goal to make $50,000, and so on. But what's your annual income goal? Write it down. Let's say that your annual income goal, for the sake of this exercise, is $50,000. For some of you, that would be an increase. For some, that would be a decrease. But there's an enormous number of people making $50,000 a year, so it might as well be you. Second is, what is your annual sales goal? In other words, based on your system of remuneration, how much are you going to have to sell in a given year in order to make $50,000? Well, let's again use an example for the purpose of this exercise. Let's say you get 5% commission overall in terms of salary, bonus, commission, end of the year, and so on. So let's say you have to sell $1 million worth of your product in order to make $50,000. So then third way of planning is say, how much do you have to make per month? And you divide your year by 12. How much do you have to make per week? And you divide your year by, say, 50, the number of weeks you intend to use. And how much do you have to make per day? And you divide your year by the number of days that you have to make. So here's an exercise. Let us say you want to make $50,000 next year. Well, you divide $50,000 by the number of days that you work. You work 250 days. Well, that works out to about $200 a day. You divide $200 by the number of hours that you work, which is 8, and that works out to about $25 per hour. Now, here's the point. From this moment onward, your job is to do $25 per hour work. From this moment onward, you must not drop off your dry cleaning, pick up your laundry, phone your friends at home, go for long lunches and workouts and so on. From now on, you must, for 8 hours every single day, work and do things that pay $25 an hour. Here's an exercise. Ask yourself, would I pay somebody else $25 an hour to do what I'm doing right now? Would I take $25 out of my kid's piggy bank and give it to someone else to do what I'm doing right now? You cannot shuffle your business cards, make your own photocopies, file your own stuff, drop off your dry cleaning, because nobody pays $25 an hour for that. And if you want to make $50,000 a year, you've got to do $25 an hour work. If you want to make $50,000 a year, or I'm sorry, you want to make $100,000 a year, you've got to do $50 an hour work and so on. But you must discipline yourself to do the work that pays the kind of money that you want to make. Okay, what are the things that we do to earn $25 or $50 or $100 per hour? Here's an important point. Whatever you do, you cannot control your sales. The only thing that you can control is your activities. You see, your sales will come and go, and your sales may materialize or disappear based on nothing that you can do. You may bring a sale to 95% of conclusion, and it may fall apart at the last moment. So you cannot control your sales, but you can control the activities, and by controlling the activities, using the laws of probabilities, you can control your sales indirectly. So here's the things that you want to make a list of. First of all, your sales volume. What sales volume do you want for the year? Let's say in this example it's $1 million in order to make $50,000. So what is the number of sales that you're going to have to make? Take an analysis of the average size of your sales. If you make your sales are $1,000 a piece, then you have to make 50 sales in a given year. You have to make 1 sale per week and so on. Number 3 is, what is the number of calls you're going to have to make? You have to keep accurate records so that you know how many calls you make in order to get how many appointments, to get how many presentations. How many calls will you have to make in order to make ultimately that number of sales? After you've made the calls, how many people you have to get through to and arrange to make presentations? How many presentations will you have to make in order to make that many sales? And once you've made the presentations and you have to get back to your customer, how many proposals will you have to make after you've made the presentations, or what we call follow-ups to a successful meeting? How many follow-ups will you have to make in order to make a certain number of sales? And finally, what kind of a closing ratio do you have? Of the number of people you talk to at the top, the number of calls you make, what kind of a closing ratio? Now here's an important point, is how can you improve in each of these areas? How can you improve in prospecting? How can you improve in presenting? How can you improve in telephone skills? How can you improve in proposals and follow-ups? How can you improve in closing ratios? In the final analysis, personal sales planning comes from you're looking upon yourself as a do-it-to-yourself project. It comes from you looking upon yourself as a person who is in business for themselves and performing the functions of prospecting, getting appointments, establishing rapport, making presentations, overcoming objections, closing orders, and managing yourself personally. Your job as a professional in selling is to plan every aspect of your company, to make yourself a do-it-to-yourself project, to commit to being in the top 10%, to commit to being the best, to commit to achieving all of your goals and using sales and the process of sales planning as a vehicle to get you from where you are to where you want to go.